Can somebody give me a thumbs up if they can hear? Barry or Kieran, who are both listening, can you hear? Okay. Can somebody who's watching please give me a thumbs up if you can actually hear me, because I don't have any sound available. Yes, thank you. That's great. Okay. I'm just trying to find the... I'm going to be trying to do the questions from my laptop. Okay. So it's 12 o'clock. Welcome to the second Facebook Live with me, Councillor Vikki Slade, who is leader of BCP Council. Slightly tricky situation as my laptop sound has broken this morning and we've had to run cabinet with me accessing it via my telephone. I've now plugged in my mobile so that I can present, but I can't hear anything. So luckily you're all sending your messages in via Facebook, and the great idea to prop it up so I didn't have to hold it has failed because I've had to plug the battery in and you can't go landscape. So all good fun, modern technology. So the reason for these Facebook Lives is to try and give you as much information as we can about what's going on with the current situation, and also to give you the opportunity to ask lots of questions. Somebody has asked, will we tell the truth? Of course we're going to be telling the truth. I am trying to watch various screens to the questions that are coming in, so I'm going to if I miss any, what I've said I will be doing is following the end of this broadcast, I am going to be staying on to answer the questions that we've missed because they're moving through so quickly that I can't always see that. So this morning you may have been aware that we had our first cabinet meeting, which was undertaken via Skype, and on Monday we had our first overview and scrutiny board. Some of the first councils in the country to be able to do full meetings this way. They've been really successful. We've had great engagement. The difficulty is that it's very difficult for us to engage with the public to enable them to take part in the meetings, but we are doing everything we can to make sure that you have every opportunity to talk to us and that we have the opportunity to talk to you. So I'm going to spend about 20 minutes going through some of the various issues that people have got concerns with. Emma's made a comment about something's 38 days too late, but she hasn't said what, so perhaps she'd like to clarify what her concern is. So I'm going to start with the news that most of you are aware of, that we have restarted garden waste. This is in common with most councils across the country who have been able to restore garden waste either this week. We think Dorset is doing it next week, but they're gradually coming back online. The reason that green waste was suspended for a period of time was specifically because it's critical that we were able to maintain the standard refuse, the recycling and the food waste collections. We do have a significant number of people who are not able to work at the moment because of the type of work that it is, and to try to maintain everything at the same time would have meant something collapsed. So it was really important that we took the right decision at the right time. We are not currently reopening our household waste recycling centres. Again, whilst that is a local decision for each council to make, There are currently, we believe, only one council in the country that has reopened its its household waste recycling centre for a number of reasons. One of the main reasons for not opening that is that it is not considered to be an essential journey under the rules that the government and the police have issued. Furthermore, there are issues around being able to socially distance, and actually the reality is that if we try and open everything, something will fall down. And by restarting your garden waste where you have it, you are in a situation where the vast majority of your waste can now actually be collected, and those bulky items, if they are DIY items that is building waste, please be aware that this is not a free service anyway. If you turned up to the household waste recycling centre with building waste, you would be charged for it anyway. That change happened several years ago. So if you are planning to do that, your best bet is to get a skip or a hippo bag, or use a commercial waste provider to do that. Somebody here is saying let 3 people in the tip at a time. Can you imagine? We'd have queues to Ferndown and Poole. So we are working on ways we can ration it, but at the moment there are no other councils doing this, and it will be done when it's appropriate. You have sufficient waste recycling that actually certain items that you're just going to need to keep them at home, I'm afraid. We are all in a position where everyone is making sacrifices, and this is a sacrifice that people around the country are being asked to make. There's some questions here around businesses that aren't eligible for the grants. You will probably be aware, if you've listened to any of the other broadcasts, that we are working really quickly to give those people who are entitled to the grants their money as quickly as we can. Around about 3,500 businesses have so far been paid, or the process is happening. And the biggest problem we're finding is the groups of businesses who are not eligible for those grants. We are lobbying really hard. Several people have already come up on the stream here that are saying, come on, what are we doing for those businesses that are not entitled to the grants? I've been lobbying our 5 MPs, I've been lobbying the government departments, the Dorset Chamber of Commerce, and if you are a business that's struggling, please go to the Dorset Chamber of Commerce or to the Dorset LEP website, where they're able to provide advice. They aren't able to access those grants, but what they are trying to do is, alongside the work we're doing, is they're trying to let people know, or let the government know, which types of business are struggling, so that we can lobby them to expand the programme. There are still a lot of people, businesses, who haven't claimed their grant. We are going to be writing back out to those people who are not yet put in an application. It's really important that you apply for the grant. If you're eligible for it, we will pay it. If you're not eligible, we will soon tell you. But if you did get a letter at the beginning of the month to say you're eligible, even if your business is still open, you are entitled to that grant. So please do claim it. The government are going to be publishing the results of how quickly we are turning that around, and it will be a shame if it looked like we weren't working really hard when our guys are doing incredibly lots of work. I'm sorry, somebody's clearly not very happy about the decision on the tips, saying we're going to regret it later on. Why? We have evidence that our fly tipping is actually down by around about 25% on the same period last year. Most people are being incredibly responsible. Just hold on to your waste. If it's garden waste, you'll be able to put it in your garden bin. And if it's household waste, as I say, you have options to pay for this to be taken away, or you just need to hold on to it. Bonfires, please don't have bonfires at the moment, if you can, because it is causing people with breathing difficulties who are already shielded in their homes a lot of problems. If you are having a problem bonfire, maybe someone's holding a bonfire every day, it would be really helpful to let us know using the report it function on our website, and we will send letters out to people who are persistently having bonfires, and if it is causing a problem with noxious fumes, we can do a site visit, but we obviously want to try and avoid our staff having to go out. Just be good if we can all think about each other. Problems congregating in Townsend. If you've got people who are breaking the lockdown, the appropriate thing to do is to contact 101, which is the police phone number, or the police website. They are actually moving about as much as they can to places where people are congregating. Where it's appropriate, they're doing their best. I'm not going to talk anymore about fly tipping. Fly tipping is down 20%. If you've seen fly tipping, report it. We'll deal with it. So I'm going to move on from that now. So cyclists, we are asking people, and we are putting out plenty of messaging around asking people to maintain lots of space. It's not just cyclists. There are family groups who are spreading across paths, when actually what we need to be doing, if somebody's coming in the other direction or somebody needs to pass you, is please walk in single file and move over to the side of the path to allow other people to pass. Many of our shared paths, they are designed for cyclists and for pedestrians. Cyclists have every right to use them, and we are asking everybody to be respectful of each other. Right, other issues that are coming up. I would just ask if people could please try and tune into their local radio stations, and if you are going out and about to buy the Echo, as we are doing our best to communicate with people through every possible means. We have got BBC Radio Solent and BBC Radio Dorset that I was both on in the last couple of days. The Echo we're talking to regularly with things that are progressing. So it would be really helpful if people could share those and tune in, support their local radio stations. Some of the commercial radio stations are also very kindly giving us the opportunity to share some of our service changes and to tell people about the work we're doing with the Together We Can programme. Just briefly touching on the Together We Can programme. If you know somebody that is not able to get out and needs some support, we have 2,500 registered volunteers who are able to go out. They can get your shopping, they can get your prescriptions, we can set you up with a befriending service so that someone can just give you a call and have a chat and keep you going. We've got regular messaging going out to give you ideas of how to while away your time in lockdown life. There's lots of community projects that are up and running. We've got a knitting project happening locally, knitting hearts for the hospital. So please do make sure that you do log on to those services. Subscribe to the BCP Council newsletters, and you'll get updates on all of our services and all of the ideas that we're sharing with people. Okay, I'm trying to... There's quite a lot of chat on here about when we should have been in lockdown and listening to China. I'm not going to cover those issues because they're not local government issues. It's not our decision when we went into lockdown and when we come out of lockdown. I'm not the government. I'm not even of the same political party as the government. So I'm not going to get involved in those conversations. Feel free to write to your MP. If your MP doesn't reply, you need to deal with your MP, not ask me why your MP isn't actually replying. Chris has asked a question about how many cases in Bournemouth and Poole Hospital. We do get updates on that every couple of days, Chris, and you can actually look up on the Public Health England website what the current numbers are. We know that our hospitals are coping really, really well. We do have people in intensive care in both of our hospitals and also in Dorset County Hospital, but ultimately they are doing a really great job. They are keeping people really safe, and they are managing really well with the space that they've got. It does appear they've made the decision. You may have heard a week or two ago that we were going to have a Nightingale hospital locally. That has been stood down, so it's very unlikely that will happen unless there is a major spike locally. But the South West is currently got the lowest number of cases of any part of the country. That may change. It will change if people don't change their behaviour and actually stay at home. We hope it isn't going to change, but whilst it remains as it is, there won't be another hospital opening up in Bournemouth, which obviously means we can concentrate our efforts on the ones that are already there. Okay, I'm struggling to see the genuine comments around the chat about MPs. I'm going to completely ignore those, as I say. Okay, I'm going to try and open up. Apologies, it's quite difficult. So PPE. So PPE is there are very clear guidelines from Public Health England about who should and should not be using PPE. There is absolutely nothing to suggest that the volunteers who are dropping food to people on their doorsteps require PPE. If you, as a member of the public, choose to wear PPE, that is your choice. The council are not going to be providing PPE to those volunteers. The council have been given very clear instructions from the Public Health England and the NHS about when and how PPE should be used. We will be following those guidelines, and the staff that we have who are required to wear PPE or recommended to wear PPE are wearing them. Where you see people not wearing it, it's because there's actually no Public Health England advice around doing that. If somebody is personally at risk, then obviously they'll be wearing their PPE, but we're not going to be providing gloves and masks for our volunteers. The volunteers shouldn't be getting within 2 metres of the people that they're volunteering for anyway. The shopping should be dropped on the doorstep so that the person can actually get it from the other side, and that's something which you need to be doing yourself. Okay, it's incredibly difficult access. Somebody's talking about difficulty with school places. The schools are in control about whether a child is being given a place at a school. It's based upon whether or not you are a key worker and you have anyone else at home. So give you an example. If you are a key worker going out every day to work, either, I don't know, as a social worker or in the supermarket or as a nurse, but you have another member of your household, another adult member who is at home, then no, a school place won't be made available for you because your child effectively can be cared for at home. If your child is vulnerable, has an EHCP, an Education, Health and Social Care Plan, then there should be provision for them to attend school. And if your child has a child protection plan or is a child in care, then the government and the council are very keen that those children are in school. It is the safest place for them. It's absolutely critical that they do attend school, and you will have seen nationally a low proportion of families are sending their children in. If a child is in a household where there is somebody who is vulnerable, so either a child or an adult in that household is immunosuppressed, perhaps is on active treatment for a condition or is severely disabled, it probably isn't safe for that child to be at school mixing with other children. So please do, it's between the family, the school and the social workers and the medical people to decide whether that child should be at school. It isn't for the rest of us to decide and make judgments on who is or isn't going out. There was a question earlier about shortage of oxygen in hospitals. No, there was a concern a few weeks ago. The hospital in Bournemouth was concerned about that. They're not concerned anymore. They're content that they have what they need. The procedure support workers should be following. If you're a support worker, you should be getting advice from your employer. There are people who are not behaving in a great way. If you are seeing people who are not adhering to social distancing. As I said before, you need to contact the police. If we can help in any way, we will reinforce that. The police are paying visits to households where things are taking place that shouldn't be, and they are giving advice, and if the behaviour persists, then they will issue fines and prosecute. Clearly, we don't want to we don't want to do that unnecessarily. Someone's asked if we're going to give a discount on your council tax. No. In a word, absolutely not. You might have seen some news that actually there is more chance that the council has got major financial problems through this. So I think we need to be realistic. At the moment, we've been given £11.1 million by the council. By the government, which has already been spent on additional social care visits. We've lost huge amounts of income. We're expecting our loss of income through things like car parking, events, catering on the seafront, those sorts of things. We will lose as much income as we've been given in subsidy, and yet we have got millions of pounds of additional costs that we've already incurred and that we would expect to incur. And if this carries on, we are looking at a huge hole in the finances next year, and we are going to need to make some significant changes to services next year. So I'm sorry, Zoe, that you think we're greedy jokers. Perhaps you'd like to run a budget of nearly £1 billion. We are providing critical services for adults and children who are very, very seriously needing support. Children who have social work, severely disabled adults, elderly people who can't look after themselves. Costs a lot of money. Care homes cost between £700 and £1,500 a week, and where people don't have the means to pay, we actually have to still pay for that. Dorset Home Choice. I'm going to concentrate on the questions around services. We are currently leaving empty some of our voids, and the reason for that is that people who are at risk are becoming homeless throughout this situation. So we housed over 200 people at the beginning. That was not only rough sleepers, but also people who were sofa surfing or who had unstable support wherever they were living. We're now seeing, obviously, peaks in perhaps relationships that are breaking down, domestic abuse situations where we need to move people out into our housing. So it's absolutely critical that we leave those voids there so that we can place people who don't have a home. If somebody has a home at the moment, then now isn't the time to be moving, and so we're not going to be looking at enabling people to move on to a home of their choice, because we are all home safe. Our priority is for those people who don't have a home at the moment. Lisa, we've talked about the plans to help local businesses. We've had £138 million come to spend on our businesses. We are only allowed to give the grants out to those people who are eligible. So go on to our website, and look up the financial area. If you haven't already had a letter, you can apply. If your business is eligible, then you can apply for a grant to help your business. If your business is not eligible, then there is nothing the council can do to give you any additional money. What we are doing is lobbying the government and lobbying through various different local government organisations to help. And there are several people on here who've said, thank you very much for getting the money out to us, versus we aren't eligible, what can you do? Please just keep in touch with us. Our economic development team are doing their best as well to get messages out. Please sign up for our newsletter if you have a business, and anything related to the businesses and what's happening with those we're sharing. People waiting to access universal credits, accessing food bank vouchers. Sarah, that's a really good point. The rules have been relaxed around access to food banks. We will talk to the food banks around your access to them. If their phone lines are busy, it's because they're busy. Please just keep trying. If you are desperate for food and you need us to help you with that, then please do use our free phone number. 0300 123 7052 is the free phone number. That is available from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, and it's available 7 days a week. We have over 200 of our staff have moved across from their usual job, whether they normally be housing officers, dog wardens, whatever. They are working really hard to make sure that we can answer all of those calls. People who are on the Operation Shield, which is the programme the government set up to help those very vulnerable people who shouldn't be going out. Those individuals have all been offered food parcels, and now the council is proactively calling them to make sure they know what's available to them locally. So if you haven't had a call on the Operation Shield, give us a ring. We have over 2,500 volunteers who are ready to go out and help you. Okay, so Harriet, Branksome Cemetery. So originally we were asked to close all cemeteries and crematoria for anyone other than people who were attending funerals. We are now able to reopen those, and we will be changing the signage on all of our cemeteries over the next few days so that we can facilitate people visiting the gravesides of their loved ones. What we will be saying to people is the same rules apply as anywhere else. So please don't gather at the graveside. I know when there's an anniversary or a birthday, it's really, really important to people to spend time together. But at the moment, gathering in groups is not acceptable. So we're asking that if you want to go and have some quiet time by the grave of someone you love, please do go, lay your flowers, spend a couple of minutes and move on. It's not appropriate to spend long periods of time there in the same way as it wouldn't be appropriate at the moment to spend long periods of time sat in the park or in any other open space. So that is absolutely fine. You can go. There's a criticism there about the public toilets. I'm afraid we have had to close the public toilets. A number of reasons. Would you believe it? In the early days, we had people stealing not only the toilet roll and the hand sanitizers, but smashing up the toilets. Frankly, a disgusting situation. So we can't put our staff at risk and spend tens of thousands of pounds fixing toilet blocks when we've got people behaving in that way. We also have to recognise that there is a risk to our staff who are going in and out of toilets, constantly cleaning them after people are using them. And so people are being asked to only go out for short bits of exercise from and around their home, and to do the level of exercise that they can do without it requiring them to spend long periods of time, perhaps sat or potentially needing the toilet. Yes, there are people who've got medical reasons why they may need to go more regularly, but actually please walk around where you live. And then you can return home to a safe space where you can do whatever you need to do. Is there any grants for household items or white goods? Not specifically, no, Carrie. If you want to email me specifically about your problem, we can see what we can do. I know Dorset Reclaim have put in a bid, I think it was Dorset Reclaim, to one of the charities that I'm working on a panel with, asking for funding to provide white goods. So I would suggest contacting them in the first instance. Someone suggested removing benches. I think the idea of removing the benches is quite a massive piece of work. We're asking people not to use them. Putting tape around everyone is quite a big piece of work. We're really asking people just to only go out for a short while. We're coming up to 12:30. We did commit to do this for 30 minutes. I would ask that, I will be answering those questions that we haven't been able to answer. The question of beach huts has come up again. I think we have to, again, be realistic that I know it's a huge inconvenience that you can't use your beach hut at the moment, but there are lots of other services that aren't open at the moment, and that's because the government guidance is that you shouldn't be leaving your home other than to do essential shopping, for medication, to help the vulnerable, to go to work, or for a period of exercise. going and sitting at your beach hut, it doesn't cover any of those things. So it's not about us closing your beach huts. It's about actually, it's about not being out in an unnecessary time. We, as I've just explained, have got a huge hole in the finances, as has every council in the country. And until we know whether the government are going to be able to backfill those huge additional costs that we've had and the lost income that we've got, we have to be really mindful that we don't make the situation any worse. So at the moment, that's not something that we're able to consider. If you are struggling to pay, whether it's your beach huts, your council tax or your rent, you need to contact our revenue and benefits team. They are able to reprofile your council tax so that you don't pay for the next couple of months and you pay a little bit later. The same with your beach huts, we can move those payments over to later on in the year, particularly for those people who are furloughed. The same is true for people who are council tax tenants. If you're struggling with your rent, you need to contact us. At the moment, nobody is going to be prosecuted or taken to court for non-payment of their rents, but their rents are still going to be due, and we do need to try and make sure that people are paying those as and when they can. Is there anything else there? So just finally, a couple of messages. You are able to contact the 0300 123 7052 volunteer line if you are needing support. We can provide food, people to go and do your shopping for you. In an emergency, we are able to provide emergency food parcels. We can collect your prescriptions. We can walk your dog. We can provide you with social interaction and friendship. If you would like to volunteer, then you can register to volunteer using our BCP Council website. Please don't call the free phone number. That's only for people who need the support. If you need us for anything else, if you go to our website, depending upon whether or not you live in Bournemouth or Christchurch or Poole, press the button and it will give you a phone number for normal services. Bear in mind that most of our staff are now working from home. Email is a lot easier for our staff to deal with. Some of them are having to work in the evenings because they're helping to provide childcare for their families during the day. So so please do email wherever you can. So yes, the courts open. Lorien, I'd suggest speaking to them regarding, I think the courts are reopening in certain circumstances, but quite limited. Okay, it's now 12:30. We are hoping to do this every week, and I'm very, very happy to answer anyone's questions. I'm going to spend the next hour or so going back and trying to answer anything we've missed. Apologies if I've missed you. Hopefully normal service will be resumed without having to use the mobile next week. I say please do stay safe. Follow the guidelines and see you all next week. Thank you.